You want us to mute?
No, it's okay. So just waiting for YouTube to wake up.
You want us to mute?
No, it's okay. So right.
You want us to mute?
Right. We are here. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October meeting of this Parish Council Planning Committee. We begin with apologies. Do you have any apologies, Lizzie?
Yeah, we've had apologies from Councillor Edwards, Councillor Hargreaves and Councillor Gerard.
Super, thank you. We now have to do the online declaration, which we probably all got into the habit of by now. So I'll start and then I'll go around everyone else. I'm Councillor Keith Budden. I'm chairman of this Parish Council Planning Committee. I confirm that I've read the agenda and any representations received, and I have no interest to declare of any of the items on the agenda this evening. Howard.
I'm Howard Lindsley. I'm a member of the Planning Committee of Liss Parish Council. I've read the agenda and I have no interest in any of the items on the agenda.
Sheila?
I'm Sheila Portman, a member of Liss Parish Council Planning Committee. I've read the agenda and have no interests in any of the applications. Can I just say I'm having problems with the sound on my iPad, so could everybody shout, please?
Okay. Claire?
I'm Claire Williams. I'm a member of the Liss Parish Council Planning Committee. I've read all of the items on the agenda and have no interests to declare in any of them.
Okay, thank you. Sue?
I'm Sue Halstead. I am a co-opted member of the Liss Parish Council Planning Committee. I confirm that I have read the agenda and have no interest to declare, but as a co-opted member of the committee, I will not be voting on any of the applications.
Thank you. And Nick?
I'm Nick Wilson, a member of Liss Parish Council and its Planning Committee. I've read the applications on the agenda. I have no interest to declare apart from a non-pecuniary interest in Rycroft, which is the application numbered 03915, as I'm live opposite that place.
Great, thank you. And also in attendance, we have Lizzie Keeling, our assistant clerk, who's minuting the meeting for us. Okay, so we move on to the approval of minutes of the meeting of the 14th of September 2020. Have someone to approve the minutes, please? Howard, someone to second? Claire? Everyone happy with the minutes?
Aye.
Yeah, good. Okay. Thank you. Anyone, any matters arising from the minutes? I mean, the only thing I would say is that on the consultation on reform of the planning system, myself, Councillor Hargreaves, Sue Halstead and Sir John Dunt got together and we put together some words which we submitted to the consultation. Okay, so we'll move on then to the actual applications. So we'll begin with 16 Birch Close in Liss, which is for a single-storey front extension and porch following the demolition of the existing porch and conversion of the integral garage to form additional domestic living accommodation. Yeah, if you just as proposed, yeah, fine. So it's right on the corner. It's the last but one before the turning in Birch Close. It's semi-detached property, and basically all the extension is taking the garage and making it a usable room, and is also bringing the rest of the front out closer to it, but still subservient. But because it's that side, it's not going to have any, the actual new extension isn't going to have any effect on the neighbours on number 14, because it's also the if you like the main bulk extension, which is the garage, is already there. Anything they want to say on this one?
Are we
Okay.
sure that the parking is, are we sure that the parking is adequate without the garage?
That was my only, I'll be honest, that was my only concern on it, was I thought the only thing that we could bring to their attention.
Can I just say, given that we've got on the any other business, there's the item about responding to the National Parks planning consultation on
Yeah.
parking. There are a number on tonight's agenda, which probably the only concern I have is whether the adequate parking is retained.
Yes.
And just to alert other councillors as we go through, because I'm not sure that this consultation does anything to put my mind at rest
Right.
as to
Okay.
the concerns that we continue seem to have about parking. But I just mentioned that so that we got our alert hats on as we go through the agenda.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, on this one, parking, potential impact on parking was the only thing that I could see.
Chair,
Yes.
could I just ask about the loss of garage space? As I think it comes up in 3 of these applications. I don't remember us having so many garages disappearing in one evening. And I just wondered, forgive me for not knowing, but is there any particular policy about converting garage space into living space?
Not really, no. As long as the applicant can still provide sufficient parking space. So providing there's sufficient space outside the property, then there's not a problem, because really, realistically, if there is sufficient space, then typically people don't use the garage for parking their car in anyway.
Yeah.
So, but that is,
And in fact, the consultation that we shall be looking at some point actually makes that point and reduces the what they see as the provision that a garage makes in their algorithm.
in their
Anyway.
algorithm. Don't we all have algorithms these days?
I have a
Anyone else?
question, if I may.
Yeah, sure, Claire.
And it's for my own education. When calculating how much you can extend a building to meet, to be within the guidelines, does an integral garage count as existing space, or does it get added on as part of the extension?
No,
if you convert it into movable
it gets
and
counted as
livable.
if it's integral, it gets counted as existing space.
Thank you.
So I think we're saying on this one, unless anyone's going to correct me, we're saying no objections, providing the officers are satisfied there's sufficient parking.
Agreed.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So we move then on to 28 Sires Road, which is a proposed single-storey rear extension. I mean, my personal view was this one I really couldn't see any issue with at all, because no one's going to see it. It's effectively just filling in a rectangle which is there at the back. But I say that's my personal view. Anyone else got anything they want to add on it?
No, agreed.
No? Okay, so no objection then, I think, on that one. So then we come to 6 Willow Road, which is a single-storey front and rear extension and a first floor side extension over the existing garage. And this one, again, the parking rears its head, I think, and particularly since parking down Willow Road tends to be on-street parking anyway, then I think there's a real need to make sure that they have got room, still got room left for off-street parking. But I don't know what
They are retaining a double garage, aren't they?
they are. Yeah, that's true.
They're actually enlarging the garage from what's there at the moment.
Yes, that's true. I hadn't really thought about that, but yes, you're right. So
it's not exactly over the garage. It's being joined to the existing house. Does that make it over the 30%?
it won't apply because it's well, it would apply, I suppose. But yes, I don't think it's an issue though, because the garage
think
is there.
It may be worth just asking the question.
Yes, yeah,
Quite a sizable extension.
it is. Yeah, we could ask the question, certainly.
And there's 6 roof lights.
I mean, I think we could ask for the normal condition on the roof lights for the blinds that shut, or you know, something on them that shuts at dusk to stop the light escaping. Although I've got to say, it is one area again where sometimes it's proving to be a bit pragmatic, because given where Willow Road is near the centre of the village, I suspect there's quite a lot of light pollution anyway. So the extra roof lights are probably not going to be that significant, but I think we should ask for the condition on them anyway. Anyone else, any comments they want to make?
Nothing to add, I think.
Okay, so I think we say the officer to check the 30%. Condition on the roof lights. Other than that, we have no objection. So then we move on to 1 Patrick's Tops Road, which is a single-storey front and rear extension, a dormer to the front extension, and internal alterations.
I thought it was really difficult to see what was actually proposed here from the diagrams. I wasn't exactly sure what was what.
Well, essentially, it's a new. Yeah, it's a new conservatory off of the back, because they've already got an existing conservatory off of the side. So they're having a new conservatory from off the back. The extension at the front is minimal, really. It is just a new porch at the ground level, but at the first floor level, it's now putting a office over the top of the garage. I mean, such extensions are not unusual in greenfields, it has to be said.
I think it's been done before.
So I couldn't really see anything.
I think on the parking, we could say that providing that the parking provision indicated is actually achieved.
Yes, yeah, I think that's true.
They seem to be, they've shown which is not there at the moment. So it is quite tight, and they're right on the corner. So it's not ideal for on-street parking there.
No, I think that's a good point.
Well, I think this one also had Velux windows, didn't it? I got that wrong.
Don't think
This one's a big conservatory.
It's just a conservatory, yeah.
Just wondered if there was a light issue.
Well, it probably needs,
Yeah, we did
light,
ask for
yes,
the same
there is a light
condition
issue.
on the roof. Yeah. Okay. So then we got 1 Millbrook Close. The demolition of the existing conservatory and replacement with a part single-storey rear extension and a part double-storey rear extension, garage conversion, and attaching the garage to the main house. Now, this one, I had to look closely at the plan because at first I thought that it was only showing 1 parking space, but then I realized they were actually showing 3 parking spaces. They just only put a car in one of them. But it is quite a big extension.
there is actually, there is actually sufficient space. When I went and had a look, they've got plenty of room for
Right.
providing
Okay.
parking on the
There-
plot.
There was also
Sorry.
notes about the drainage system
Yes.
that it was worried about. Has to be, quote, subject to satisfactory drainage systems for both foul and surface water, because there will be an increased runoff.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that would normally be covered by condition, but yes, you're right.
It's going to add quite a lot.
I think we asked
I mean,
the 30% question.
yeah, I mean, I'm pretty certain this one is over the 30%.
Yes.
In a rule of thumb. But yes, I think we should ask that.
That was my only issue.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone else happy on that? And so then we move to 18 Riverside Close.
Can I just check what number this actually is? It's 18 on the National Park Authority website, but the covering letter refers to number 20. I'm assuming 18 is correct, but it's a bit odd.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Nick, to be honest.
I think 18 is correct. I went and had a look. It's the last one going up on
It's the last one
as
on
you go
that
up
side, isn't
Riverside
it?
Close.
Yeah.
It's the last
Right.
one before the bend. Yes, it is.
I mean, I thought
It's that. It is.
my main concern with it was that knowing that road is, or that land there is fairly often waterlogged, then the thought of actually going down a level into the ground, I thought was just asking for trouble. And I noticed that the flood drainage consultant picked up on that as well.
It was a bit confusing because there was one of the accompanying documents said that part of the garden would be in a high flood risk, but then another one seemed to suggest that it was in the FZ one, so they had no objection. But the one that said it was in the high flood risk actually said on the 8th of the 10th that there should be an objection pending further details because there's a problem with the foul drainage from the lower ground floor. I thought from the back it looked more like a 3-story house.
Well, it is in effect, because
Yeah.
you're actually getting a lower ground, and then a first floor.
Well, that's what they call it, a lower ground floor, but in fact,
Yes.
From the front, it looks just as not very different from how it is now.
No. I mean, it's quite a quite a clever development, but I just have very real concerns about that lower ground floor.
Yeah, I would agree.
I thought the
One bonus is that, sorry.
go on, Sue.
I think one bonus is that at the moment the parking is dire. They just have the one parking space on the frontage of the bungalow. I don't know how they get into it. It's sort of parallel across the front house. This appears that the footprint is narrower than the bungalow. So they were actually proposing 2 parking spaces down the side with tandem parking. So that's not brilliant. Yeah. So they say that they can provide 3 parking spaces.
Yes.
Where at the moment, the one that they've got is almost not usable, I would have said. But anyway.
Yes,
But
I
find this one a really, really difficult one to do.
I mean, my feel at the moment would be, I'm almost tempted to say that I mean, it's almost where you want to put a holding objection until they can prove that they can that there won't be a flooding problem. Because I think the drainage report is quite right. Is A, they're going down into the land, which is quite often waterlogged anyway, and B, once you do that, how on earth do you actually drain the downstairs bathroom, which is in there?
Are you allowed to knock a house down and then build something that's 30% bigger?
Well, no is the short answer, because again, it would fall under the 30%, and this is certainly far more than 30%.
I couldn't understand why, if they've only got 3 bedrooms, they need a cinema room.
Everyone needs a cinema room.
That's the in thing.
It is the in thing, apparently, yeah.
The comment I was going to make was simply looking at the back. It does look pretty enormous. But I mean, the issue that Claire has raised about size, I hadn't appreciated if it was essentially a new build on an old site. The size policy applied, but it does seem to break that policy then.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I'm trying to judge what we're feeling here. Are we going to say object?
I think we have to at this point.
Okay. So I think okay. So we say object A on the fact that we have concerns because it's clearly over the 30% increase in size, and B because of concerns over the potential for flooding.
Yeah.
And I'd be very happy to offer the consultancy support on the pleasures of bailing out basements when they've been flooded, having had that experience on my Thessalonian holiday. Everything went down into the basement.
Maybe it's going to be a cinema room part of the time and an indoor pool the other time.
Well, yeah, it could be. Yeah. Right. Okay. So I think we've covered that one. So the next one then is a really simple one which is 5 Yew Tree Place, which is just a replacement pole for the purpose of distributing electricity. I really couldn't see any issue with this. I mean, if SSE say that's where it needs to be, then that's where it needs to be, I think.
Sorry, the only thing I wondered about was that the new line is going to go across a building, whereas before
it goes to the back. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't know what effect that would have.
That's someone's house as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Perhaps we just highlight that.
I worried about that until I went and looked at Yew Tree Place again, and the rest of the wiring around Yew Tree Place seems to go over quite a lot of the other houses.
Oh, right, okay.
Fair enough.
Maybe
well, they won't be extending upwards.
I mean, still raise the point.
Yes.
But I was a bit surprised.
It's one way of keeping them bungalows.
Well, that's true.
You're right.
I suppose we could make a more generic point as well and say we're disappointed they're not taking the opportunity to put the cable underground. But
I think that's a very good point. Yeah.
just given that's our overall aim, and eventually, although you have to say that looking at the amount of roadworks in Petersfield at the moment, you do wonder whether SSE are actually burying cables or prospecting for gold. But anyway, okay, so the next one is a lawful development certificate for Eastfield Cottage, Hillbrow Road, which is infilling 3 sides of the porch with brickwork, dwarf walls and glazing over. I have to admit, I couldn't open this one. I don't know if anyone else managed to open it. Oh.
If you put a P at the end of it, it opens up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Lizzie, you know who this belongs to? Nikki Robertson.
Can't hear you.
I didn't realise. So this is the speed watch.
Yeah.
Does that mean you have to declare a non-pecuniary interest?
Well, I couldn't, this was the only one I couldn't actually get into. It kept coming up, no documents available.
Oh.
So I couldn't really see what was, I thought it was just enclosing a porch, which seemed to me to be okay.
It is.
It is. That's all they want to do.
It's an LDC anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's a legal issue rather than a planning one, really, but I don't see any problem with that.
No.
And then the next one is Rycroft, the Annex 76 Forest Road, which again is a lawful development certificate for the existing use of the annex as a separate standalone dwelling, which is normally dependent on them providing proof that it's been, and I see they've got a declaration. Okay.
Does that mean that the proposal for the building in the back can no longer be achieved?
I don't know, to be honest.
I can't recall, but I mean, it's going to be a lot of fairly cramped development there, because the house was to be split in 2, and then there were two new dwellings to the rear, which is where I thought this annex was.
Well, there was a previous planning application.
There was, yes, you're right, for around the back there.
To demolish it, to make way, when there was an aim of having 4 houses, they were going to demolish the annex. And so I'm a bit confused by this one.
I am.
There was somewhere, it did seem to suggest that it was going to be made into 2 residences. Surely it's not big enough.
Well, I mean, if their declarations are correct, then it has been let as a separate property already. So,
I think that is correct.
It is correct. I know from personal knowledge.
So, I mean, I don't think there's anything for us to comment on, really. Again, it's one of those ones that's going to be a legal opinion on whether they're right or not.
Yep.
Yep.
I agree.
Okay, so then we have the applications approved, which I don't think there's anything taking us particularly by surprise there. One that I saw that has been approved, which isn't there on the list, but I noticed today in the planning list, is that Mr. Graver has got his approval for the changes that he made at,
No.
yes.
Station Road.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Because the view of the planning officer was that there was, although they were convinced you could now only park 2 cars in the underground space, because the 2-bedroom flat, one of the flats in it was due to be a 2-bedroom flat, but it's now actually a 1-bedroom flat. There was only a need for 3 parking spaces, and given how near it was to the station, then 2 was all right.
I think we should all go around there and invite people to park so that we can watch.
Absolutely no, and it absolutely
I
flags
do-
up why we've got to get a better parking scheme in than
Yes.
exists or even being proposed.
I-
That's terrible because there isn't parking.
No, I have to say I was incredibly disappointed when I read the officer's report. But
I've
Even
noticed
if
that every
people
time
could get
I've
in
walked,
the... Sorry,
sorry,
Alan.
Howard.
every time I've walked past there in the last week or two, it's become immaterial. There's always been the design company have a large vehicle blocking the door, and the Puddle Ducks bus has
Right.
also been there.
Yeah.
So even if the garage was open, he wouldn't get anything in it at all.
And that includes weekends as well. So 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, there was no way anyone was getting in or out there.
Yeah, I think it's a really disappointing decision. But there you go.
Oh, it is bad.
I was interested to see that Forest House had got its approval. We
Yeah.
did have a bit of a discussion about that, didn't we?
Mm,
So it's going to be a positive palace, isn't it?
it is. Yeah. The things that there were a good decision were that the 2 applications for the telecom masts both got refused, which I think is good.
But what about the other ones? Because there was
Yes.
more than 2.
There were 3.
Well, the only 2 that have so far been decided. So the third one still, I think,
The
still not.
third one was the biggest of all, the one at Wilds
Yeah.
Farm.
Yeah, so that's not
Yeah.
been decided yet, I don't think.
Oh,
Hopefully it will follow these 2, because the national park was certainly putting on pressure for them to be refused. So
Yeah. The landscape officer's report was very good, I thought, and I think it was to apply to all the applications.
yes,
but the problem is, if they've objected to 2, they might say, well, we'll allow the third.
well they
Because
might. That's true. That's true.
One
I
of
mean,
the objections was there were too many too close together. They weren't needed.
mm,
So they might decide they'll keep one.
yeah, we just have to wait and see on that, Sheila, I think, because there's no decision yet. Application withdrawn. We got Hollies in Plantation Road and 12 Kelsey Close. We've got quite a number of TPO applications, but they've been referred to the tree warden as per normal. And we've had 1 TPO application approved. Monitoring of the neighbour development plan, we've still not had a meeting with Chris Patterson, so that I will keep plugging. Update on the Carla development, there's not really a great deal to add, except to say that the development itself has been highlighted within the national planning press for being an exemplar development, in terms of how much they consulted with the community, how much they consulted with the national park, and I'll try and get a copy for you, but the article had a couple of artist illustrations, which certainly I've never seen before, which implied a lot more space between the housing than I think there's actually going to be. But anyway, it did say it was an artist's impression. But nonetheless, it could put this on the map, I suppose. It's been nominated for an award, so.
And how the school crossing that they've created.
Yeah. Yeah, don't mention the school crossing. But no, that's still ongoing, the discussions on the school crossing. So we come to the SDMPA parking supplementary planning document, which is out for consultation. We have still got a few weeks to respond. We don't have to respond until November. But hopefully people have had a chance to have a look at the document. Sue, I'll go to you first because I know you've had a look at it. You've obviously still got concerns about it.
Well, yes, I have really. I find it very difficult to understand from the table at the back. They don't call it an algorithm, but I think that's what it is. It calls it a parking calculator.
Yeah.
They say it's all very landscape led, but I don't think that they yet do enough to solve a lot of the problems that we've been talking about tonight, and we have been doing practically every planning meeting for months. They make no mention about tandem parking.
No.
Which is often an issue. There's also the issue that we face about 2-bedroom sort of terrace houses going up into the loft and creating 4 bedrooms, and there's no parking at all. So it increases on-street parking.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain things, there are ambitions. I think on one of the pages, they've got half a dozen bullet points. And I think I would agree with all of them, except I'm not sure that what they propose actually solves the problems that they do. I mean, and the last bullet says car parking should not obscure clear and direct routes between the front door and the street. Well, I think the Carla Holmes application actually does do that.
It does, yeah.
The parking is in front of the door.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think we in LIS really, really need when we respond to make clear to the national park, because they go on as they once did before about Wands Hill, I think, about LIS having such wonderful transport.
Yeah.
I think we have to go in really hard and point out that, yes, there's a bus, but it's only daylight hours during weekdays, very restricted where it goes and how frequent it is. And the train only goes north-south. So the reality is that the majority of households in LIS have at least one car. Many have 2, some have 3. And you know, reality, I don't know how that gets worked out in this algorithm thing, but I suspect because we've got a train and a bus, we're going to get hard hit.
Yes.
On this. And I don't know how it actually, it seems to be determined by ward. So I don't know whether that helps or hinders the likes of LIS Forest, West LIS, Hillbrow, the outer reaches of LIS.
Yes, that's true.
As I say, it doesn't address tandem parking, which we talked about tonight, which, you know, people, if they've got tandem parking, then they park in the street.
Yeah.
So I do have quite a lot of concerns about this. I mean, I could put them in writing if you like.
Yeah, I think if you could, Sue, but I certainly, my first read, I agree with everything that you're saying. I was sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? I think I was disappointed in a way because I was expecting more of it than there was. Given how much, you know, how long we've waited for it, and how much I thought as parishes we'd put forward why it was so important, and they almost seem to, I don't know, almost ignore it. I mean, you know, it seems to concentrate more on the fact that, you know, if you have a public car park, you should provide a horse box space than it does on actual residential car parking, which is to me much more what it should be about.
So,
and as we've just been discussing about with 97A Station Road, if officers are just going to go roughshod over it anyway, well,
yeah,
you know, what does it gain us? If you have a parking standard, surely it's got to mean something.
And they don't seem to be, I mean, they're very vague, I thought, on things like nursing homes, which we've got a lot of in this.
Yeah.
Crashes, nurseries, and those kind of things. They just say site-specific assessment would be based on a travel plan. Well, we've had experience many times of people putting forward travel plans that include bus routes that no longer exist,
Yeah.
without really understanding how much traffic is generated by care homes,
Yes.
people coming at all times of day and night. And you hope they've got lots of visitors as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So there's a lot missing. It's very vague and
Mm.
doesn't, I think, address really many of the issues which we have.
No, I think you're right.
Sorry.
I was going to add to that, even where there is a bus at the moment, I think that's probably on short term, because I think the county council are reducing the subsidy on buses every year. It's one of the things they feel they can do. So even if there was an acceptable bus now, it's not going to be there in a year or two's time.
Well, yeah, I think the other thing I'd add to that, Howard, as well, is if we take the single bus a day, which does go out through Westliss, as an example, which goes to Alton College, which used to allow members of the public on it. Members of the public can no longer get on it because of COVID. It's now restricted only to students who are going to Alton College.
Okay, yeah.
So
That's an interesting one.
It's another problem now. I mean, hopefully that's a relatively short-term problem, but nonetheless, it's a problem.
Towards the end of the document, it talks about doing parking capacity surveys, and it says that in both residential and non-residential schemes, advice should be sought from the local highways authority. Well, Hampshire County Council have had quite a sloping shoulder about providing advice and feedback to both ourselves and developers, because they say, well, it's not our responsibility, it's the national park.
Yeah.
So I just wonder how realistic that is.
Yeah, I'm tempted to agree with you. Okay, well, I think as I say, we haven't got to put in a response till next month's meeting. So if people can if you've not had a chance to have a look at it, please do. If you can get your thoughts into words, Sue, and then we'll try and base our response on that, I think, to send off to the national park.
Very happy for other people. Please don't let it just be me.
No.
Other people say their bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we come then to any other business. If I very quickly go round, Claire, anything?
Nothing from me.
Howard?
No.
Sheila?
No.
Nick?
No, Keith, but I wonder if you and I could just have a quick word after the meeting before you disappear.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Sue?
No, nothing for me.
Okay, thank you. So in which case I will close the meeting at 8:14. If everyone just give me a second so I can stop it broadcasting on YouTube.